Eugene, we're halfway through. You're 5 weeks out. Happy with the way everything's going?
Yeah, yep. The boys. I know it's a pretty stereotypical answer, but the boys are on track. The boys are tracking well. There's still a lot to be done, but I think within the timeline that we're going to work within the timeline we've got, and we should get the boys in pretty good nick before New York.
Yeah. Frank's back here, and did he? Any comments on how Brad is doing over there?
Yeah, no. Frank and Brad have been working every day, Brad's looking in. Brad's in good nick. So, the three boys are here, and Brad, they should be in the best shape in their life. Gonna have to be.
Yeah. I've been talking to both Frank and Izzy about the teamwork, and it's something I wanted to bring up with you as well, because right from the word go, like for many years, I've always interested in what the corners and the changes of the tactics in between rounds and things like that. And you learned off the best, Lolo Muli, and it's something that other teams now start to be picking up on a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, at the higher and higher your level goes, the more reliant you become on getting the 0.5% gains and the 1% gains to win the actual fight. So things like cornering and strategy and tactics and the mental side of the sport, those all actually become a factor at the top end. So you have to get all of those things in line to just make the smallest gain to put your best foot forward so you can become the winner. So I think every team has their own approach that they think is right, and most of the time it is right, because there's not actually, when it comes to choosing a strategy and different tactics, and there's no right and wrong. It's just if it works. Yeah. That's like ultimately that's the decider. Like the strategy that you put in place and the tactics that you put in place work, and that's what's right for you and your team. And we have the way that we approach things, and other team have the way that they approach things. And I'm a big proponent of studying what other teams do and what other coaches do. And for sure, a lot of what we do is 100% plagiarised from other teams and other coaches. That's just what I think. Astute coaches and trainers should be doing. They should be looking at other successful coaches, teams, and fighters, and if there's aspects that they think that can add to their team's success, then they should steal them.
Fair enough.
One thing we should probably do as coaches and trainers is probably a little bit more acknowledgement of each other, and probably give each other a bit of a thank you and stuff every now and then. If we're stealing other people's material. Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about on the home seat, because there's been a lot of talk around it. Cam Royston and Navajo Sterling, and they both stepped out again last week.
Yeah. There's been heaps of local fights, overseas. I've had people fighting on Eternal. Like this team's well represented on the local scene, both here in Australia. I think we're one of the only teams from New Zealand that are regularly fighting over in Australia all the time. And then, of course, locally, we have heaps of guys fighting as well. Yeah, Navajo, of course, won his world title on King of the Ring. And then 2 weeks later, won the New Zealand heavyweight MMA title for the Shuriken show. So that was a massive accomplishment, fighting two difficult opponents and like relatively close succession like that, only 2 weeks apart. To be fair, his legs were pretty damaged for the second fight. The Australian lad that we fought for the world title, he was very good.
Yeah.
He was very good. He's got a big future too. But he did put a bit of a beating on Navajo's legs. So Navajo didn't kick for the entire 2 weeks, but then we did some kicks in the warm-up, and he was hoping his leg would be all right. But we did like 2 kicks on that leg, and it was his right leg was buggered. So we abandoned the kicking, and then we went into the fight, and it was a good lesson for both Navajo and for myself, because Navajo's right leg is a really, I feel like one of his key weapons, and to not have that there, man, it was quite challenging. It was quite challenging for the corner team, for me and the coaches. So to like to be going through the fight and seeing some really obvious things that were open with the right leg, and to have to hold back and not call those things, and then have to work through trying to find something else to kind of replace that gap in his arsenal was quite challenging. But Navajo fought a good fight against a really good opponent too. That was Navajo's first MMA fight. But it was his first MMA fight, but he's in what I would consider well versed in MMA, because he's been training it for almost an entire year now against some of the best athletes in the world, and that has prepared him well for his MMA debut here. And then of course Cameron fought the old stalwart Pane Haraki, who's always going to be a tough fight for anybody, who you always have to respect. And we had a specific game plan for Cameron, who followed it to a T, and he shut down Pane. Where we felt Pane was dangerous would be on the feet, and we were comfortable with exchanging with Pane on the feet for at least the first round, but then I thought we should just eliminate all risk, and then we closed the distance up, and then we managed to be more successful and take away any risk in that fight. So Cameron was able to get the rear naked choke in the third round, I think. So yeah, that was a wonderful night, one I'll remember for a while.
Tell us a little bit about Kai. Is Kai back training?
Yeah, Kai's back training. He's back training, so he'll start to build up. He might get one before the end of the year, but more likely looking at like hopefully Perth in February. But he's back training, and I think he's going to come to New York and watch the boys. So yeah, looking forward to that.
And what about Shane Young and Blood Diamond?
Shane Young and Blood Diamond again. Like I know Shane Young will be looking at Perth. Shane Young's just dealing with life at the moment. He's dealing with life at the moment, and some of the obstacles that throws in your way. And but both those boys are training, and they'll probably be looking at Perth in February. Yeah.
Brilliant. Can't wait.
Awesome.
Thanks, mate.
For our New Zealand fight fans, particularly the ones in the Waikato, we've got a couple of shows coming up on the 29th of October. Wayne Wairoa in Rotorua, he has his show New Zealand versus Tahiti. We all know how good of fighters the Tahitians are, so let's see how they go up against some of New Zealand's best. And we've got a lot of good young fighters on the card here. A lot of names that I'm sure we're going to hear plenty more about in the not too distant future. This is an afternoon show. Doors open at 2 o'clock. Get along and support Wayne there in Rotorua. Over in Hamilton on the same night, Ethan Shep holds Knees of Fury 87. If you've been to a Knees of Fury show before, I know you'll already have your ticket. If you haven't, try and get one early. It'll be a night to remember. Co-main event on the card sees one of my favourite fighters in Oscar Remihana up against Zen Neethling. Neethling has spent a year and a half in Thailand learning the art of full Muay Thai, and I expect the medics are going to have a little bit of work to do after this one. The main event on the card is an MMA bout featuring Hamilton's favourite son, the flying Fijian Carlos Hicks. If you were at Knees of Fury 86 to watch Carlos make his return to the ring after a 2-year layoff after a devastating injury, you'll know the flying Fijian wants to go places in a big hurry. Trying to spoil the party for him is Prempe Frimpong. Will he be able to do it? Get along and find out for yourself. 29th of October, Knees of Fury 87. See you there.